less than 1% of Americans can afford to retire before the age of 50. Now, there's actually a super simple way to beat this statistic. However, simple certainly does not mean easy. In order to get ahead of 99% of people financially, you have to break free from this system that is literally designed to keep you working. And following these 7 principles will put you in the 1%. Wealth begins in our minds and ends in our behavior, because our minds are programmed with beliefs that impact our behavior. The system that we are taught in America is to spend everything that you make. Actually, it's to spend more than everything that you make, because you need the new car. You won't be successful without that degree. Banks are just dying to lend you money to make all of your dreams come true. And this dream traps you in a cycle of debt. I know that not all debt is bad debt, but I would definitely say that most of it is. You find yourself neck deep in credit card debt, student loans, car payments. The first step before you do anything else has to be to dig yourself out of that hole. And honestly, like, the faster the better. You really need to go all in. You also have to believe that you can actually win. If someone believes that they have cancer, they cannot help but dwell on the fact that they are dying. But on the other hand, if they're told that they don't actually have cancer and what they have is actually curable, they have a whole new sense of hope for their future. The cure for a bad mindset is to replace it with a good one. And the same is really true with money. If you believe that everything is rigged against you, the government and your boss and your job and everything else, then you're always going to struggle because you believe you will. I'm here to tell you that it can be done. No matter your situation, you don't need to earn like the top 1%. I was able to leave my day job like 4 years ago and have an incredible amount of freedom without ever earning all that much money, because I knew that there was a path that if I followed would give me freedom, and it did. Educate yourself, because every decision that you make has consequences. Most people make these decisions on impulse because, well, that's what everybody else my age is doing. And that's honestly not a great reason to do anything, especially with your money. Because when 78% of people are living paycheck to paycheck, you can just assume that everybody that you know is doing the wrong thing and you should do the opposite of what everybody else is doing. It's not good. And right now, we live in an age where knowledge is literally at our fingertips, more than ever in history. So it's really important to invest the time and understand some basic financial knowledge of how to invest and manage your money. Things like why investing as early as possible is so crucial, how buying your home could delay your retirement by 12 years, or make it faster, depends on how you do it. Or even how simple money habits are keeping you from financial freedom. Side note, don't just like watch YouTube videos or read books to feel accomplished. I got stuck in that trap for a while, and it's like the same thing as watching Steph Curry shoot free throws and then expecting to get better at basketball. It's so dumb, but that's what makes us feel like we're doing something. You actually have to practice this stuff and do it for yourself if you ever want to change anything. On a side note, if you're spending more money than is necessary on your monthly expenses, just because that's how you've always done it, doesn't mean that's the right thing to do. I recently switched over my phone plan to Helium Mobile because it's just 20 bucks a month. I actually partnered with them. They're sponsoring this video. And I've been shocked on how many people I know are spending double, 3 times, 4 times what I'm spending every month for their phone plan, but they won't change to something that's cheaper, even though it's like the exact same thing, just because they haven't heard of the brand before. They are backed by the nation's largest 5G network, and they use coverage built by people, so that's one of the reasons why it's so cheap. If you want to check them out, there's a link down below, or go to hellohelium.com and use the code GABE. With that, you can get a 30-day free trial. And if you can't switch because you're locked into a contract, you can enter the form below. They're actually going to pick some people and buy out their contracts, plus give them 6 months of free Helium Mobile, so check that out for sure. Even without it, it's a no-brainer. Control your money, or someone else will. Most of us begin our adult life with little to no money skills. Maybe this is because the education system has failed us, or maybe you're like me and your parents never really talked about money. But regardless, you can only win with money when you take accountability for your decisions. It's like Dave Ramsey says, nobody wins the Super Bowl on accident. You need to make sure that you are in control of your money and it is not in control of you. For a lot of people, a written monthly budget is a really, really good place to start. This is a really good way to just examine where your money is actually going, not where you think it's going. And more importantly, decide where you actually want it to go and controlling where it will go. Pay yourself first. When most people write out their budget, and what I used to do is like you start with your rent, your utilities, your gas, your food, fund money, and you save whatever is left. But let me ask you, how would you feel if your boss did this? They first made sure that the company's expenses were fully paid. Then they gave you, the employee, whatever was left over, if anything. The reality is most people overspend even when they do have a budget. What I really recommend is when you make a budget, you start with your investing and your saving at the top of the list. That way, you're not allowed to dip into that portion of your income, and you need to actually adjust your lifestyle and your decisions off of whatever is left. Another tip is to actually set up a percentage of your paycheck to go into a separate bank account that's for savings. I like to use like a high interest savings account like SoFi, so that it's completely separate from your everyday account. It's literally paying yourself first and then living off of whatever you have left. Recognize assets versus liabilities. Now, if you haven't read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, I would highly recommend it. Great starter book. But one of the central themes in Robert Kiyosaki's strategy is understanding the difference between assets and liabilities. His definition is super simple. An asset puts money into your pocket every month, and a liability takes money out of your pocket every month. So next time you're making a purchase, just think about, is this an asset or a liability? Do whatever you're gonna do, but think about that. Now, there's nothing wrong with going out and buying a new pair of shoes, but just realize that this is purely a expense. And when you start to think about every single purchase you make that way, your purchases will change just by understanding this idea and actually thinking about it. And this gets super important as we get into some of the bigger purchases. Like for most people, their car is only taking money from their pocket every single month. There's the sticker price, gas, maintenance, insurance, the tires, all the other expenses. Owning a car is just a outflow of money. So you should really think about that when you're making that decision. If you calculate all the little costs that you never even think about, way more than you think. And that's why me and my wife have had one car for the past 4 years. When you add up all the monthly expenses, it's insane. Now, a house can either be an asset or a liability. If it's a single family home you plan to live in, you really need to do your research. Like, what type of returns do you think you can get on the property? Is the neighborhood improving or is it declining? Of course, there's gonna be maintenance. I just spent $7,000 last week replacing a fence that was falling down. So you need to calculate in the long term, is this going to make me money? Because with what you're paying in interest to the bank, it's probably gonna be like double the price anyways. And that's why something that I've been doing for the past 6 years is something called house hacking, where I buy multifamilies, I live in one unit, I rent the other ones out. The rents from those units cover all of the mortgage, taxes, and insurance, allowing me to live for free. And then when I move on to the next property, I can start making income from the one I just left, and I'm on my third one right now. This took something that could have been my biggest liability, the biggest suck of cash out of my life, and turned it into something that actually adds money to my life. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff that goes into it that we're not going to cover here, but it's so important to just know that that's an option. Monitor your finances. Whether we like it or not, money is one of the biggest parts of our lives, and actually keeping an eye on it and understanding it is so important when it comes to reaching your financial goals, getting to that 1% nobody else can get to. And it's not just as simple as like checking account balances every few months, setting up a budget once and then never doing it again. You should be investing the time to make a real financial plan and then continually reevaluating that plan, seeing what you can improve, how you can make it better. Because more money won't actually solve most people's problems. The more money they have, the more money they spend. After they build up their initial emergency, they don't know what their next step should be. Should it be paying off debt, starting investing? Which one's gonna get them to financial freedom faster? I personally like this kind of lean financial independence approach, where it starts with an emergency fund, paying off high interest consumer debt, building up a little bit more of an emergency fund so that you can have more options to maybe pursue higher jobs, which is what I did, or start investing. I personally invested into real estate, but there's a ton of avenues that you can go. But investing $100 or $1,000 generally isn't going to make that much of a difference. You need to make big changes in your life to make big changes in your life. A financial tool that I've been using recently is called WiseFi. It's not a sponsor, but there is an affiliate link down below. And it is literally built to help you build a financial plan for financial independence. They follow a very similar 4-step plan to what I do. They show what you're doing now and what would happen if you changed and kind of followed their approach. And I think the most important thing is taking a step back and realizing that every decision that you make is going to impact your life, drastically down the road. Not making that job transfer, buying a home versus renting, paying off that home early versus not, all of these decisions drastically change your future. And the thing is, there's no one size fits all. What's right for a 20-year-old is wrong for a 50-year-old. And that's why I'm always trying to learn more and kind of have like a growth mindset. The important thing is to really take your finances seriously, because you're literally trading your life for money. And so many people let money destroy them. They stress about it. It becomes this huge, horrible thing in your life. You need to invest the time into reading books, into creating budgets, into not only watching, but taking action on videos that you're watching, because it will really improve your day-to-day life, your happiness levels. But seriously, it's improved my life so much by obsessing about, improving my finances and not wasting money on crap that I don't need, and actually investing it into buying back my life. Try to buy back your life. That's all I got to say. I'll see you next week. Also, if you want to watch this video right here, YouTube thinks you're gonna love it, so they can't be wrong, can they? Surely not. Check out WiseBuy.